Still fairly mild. Hopefully it'll be clear later tonight. I don't know if anybody's thinking about it.
-3.
Yes.
-3. But
I
clear.
hear. Is that right? Well, my hostage was gone then. You're still hanging on. Okay. Tonight, just a few items. I'd like to welcome a few visitors. And here's a stranger.
Here's a stranger.
Stranger, how are you, stranger? Welcome. First meeting. Mary will do the Astro News. Turner will do What's Up. Ellen will do a comment update. We're going to do a break at some point in there, depending on our time. Trevor will handle astronomical misconceptions. And Peter is going to be handling the Star Party memories, which we unfortunately rolled over from our other meeting 2 weeks ago. And is Ellen going to be here?
No, she's on her way back from Toronto, and she said she wouldn't be in time to come.
She would not be?
She would not be.
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay.
Right.
All right. Well, we'll see. The break might be a bit sooner than it shows up. All right. Might get to Montana's early tonight. I guess our first, yes, and then we will follow that through with some upcoming events. I'm assuming Jim to be, where's Jim? Jim. There you go. You gonna need some time, Jim? It looks like you'll have a lot of time. Perfect. And then we'll reconvene in Montana's, which is next door, for a conversation. But first of all, absolutely, welcome to all you folks here. We've been very lucky to have a lot of new faces come in. We're really glad to have you. We also do an observers section. Has anybody been out since the last meeting? Have you been able to see anything? I know it hasn't been a great weather for it, but has anybody managed to get out?
I took my son up on our patio and we did some lunar observing with this little tabletop telescope that I bought.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Off the balcony, like, yeah?
Yeah, they have like a patio in the condo apartment place that I have, so it's kind of cool.
Terry Tora has been shooting stuff off his balcony as well, and like deep sky stuff. It's amazing. I was surprised. I didn't think he could do much on the balcony.
Yeah.
But I guess if your field is wide enough, you know, the usual turbulence that you get around, you know, balconies and whatnot is kind of minimized. But great.
Yeah, I just got out on Wednesday morning to look at the waning moon, and it was very nice. And then as usual, I found myself puzzled, and I have to confess that my new atlas, although it's nice, it's not as informative as the Rocco atlas that I use. But there was a western and a southern libration, so I got to see the southern rim of the crater Bailey, which is not often in view. So I thought that was very nice. And I guess by now the moon is probably going to be too small to see in the morning.
Amazing.
You know, I'm not sure I'll be able to do any more, but it was fun.
Good. Okay. Anyone else?
Took a whole bunch of pictures of Hunter's moon and the peak there. It's quite nice.
I noticed, I guess Venus is coming up. We'll probably hear more about it from Carol. But I noticed looking at it tonight that Venus and Mercury and Jupiter were up after the sunset. I don't know whether they're visible, high enough to be visible, but it's unusual to have them all on the same side of the sun.
Yeah, I got my filter ready, but we got a good sunrise. We get Mercury 45 right from the balcony where it is.
That's my point is that it would have for Mercury.
But maybe I can get the moon, should be able to get the, you know, I get the moon just to come over the trees there, right there. Catch the sunrise and set my blind myself.
Mercury's a hard one to find, though.
I've got
It doesn't get very high and it doesn't stay there for very long. With a chance of catching it during the clear spell, you can often get just clouded. Anyone else?
Just regards to the hunters meeting, did you get it on Moonrise? It was, at least down at Cambridge, it was like this big orange, red
Oh,
ball,
yeah.
beautiful, coming up. Anybody else see it?
The whole sky just lit up in orange. I was driving back to the trailer, and it was just riding right up on the highway. Just beautiful.
Others? I'd like to move on to Jerry now. We'll see if we can pass up. There's some free stuff on the table here, everything but the calendars. Don't forget to pick up your calendar. Free stuff, take it now because it's going up to the university on Monday because I need to bribe people. Next meeting, general meeting at Laurier is going to be our annual general meeting. And Randy Atwood, the ex-executive director for KWRASC, is going to be there talking about Apollo 11, because that's what his big interest is. For the annual general meeting, we're having elections for members of the board. We need new people. We didn't get anybody coming to the board meeting this month because everybody's off being busy. Okay, so we need people to show up for one meeting a month, and it's a good, there's nothing really required of you except for the treasurer and the secretary. The secretary takes minutes, Trevor handles money. But other than that, you can do whatever you want with the club, and you're actually the people that make the decisions in the club. It's not a hard job. You can just sit there at Heathers for a couple hours, sit down and you talk about issues in the club. It's not, if you want to make a decision, if you want to have something said in the club and you haven't done it before, we need you to do this. Okay? Every year we have to twist a few arms. I'm not going to do that anymore. So just look at it as something you show up for a couple meetings a year, sit down, talk about club issues, and you actually make decisions for the club. There's no the money issues, we don't have any. We have other things that we want to get done. And this is what we need, your voice. And if you're on the board, you have a vote. Okay?
This is where we organize stuff.
What's that?
That's where we organize stuff at those meetings.
Yeah. We turned 20 minutes of talk into 2 hours of, we managed to get it all done in 2 hours.
The beer's free.
Yeah, yeah. So it's just a discussion amongst things about things that come up. We talk about things that are going on in the club. And I don't think anybody's ever been on a board that hasn't felt they've actually accomplished something. So if you haven't done it before, come on up, do it. One meeting a month. We do it the Monday before the general meeting, and you can learn a lot about the club, show up, and do something responsible for the club. There's a whole list of people in the club, about 20 of them, that do things for the club, but we need people to make decisions. So if you go for vice president, first vice president, second vice president, there's no job description for it. You can show up and just spout off on your own opinion, okay? So one meeting a month, show up, have your say, and we'll find people to actually act on it and get it done, okay? But we need people to actually be on the board. I've taken myself off running for the board because of I can't be there. Especially next year, I'm going to be away a lot. So all we really need is your presence and your opinion. The Observer's Handbook is out. I'm going to start bringing to the meeting now because now I've really discovered how to use it and find things in here. And I can be a smart ass. And in astronomy, you only have to know this much more than the person you're talking to, and you're a genius. That's going to
All the expression about that.
What's that?
Me? No, I'm done with those days.
Yeah. I was talking to James Edgar, he's the editor of this, and I said, how hard is it to get people to update? Because all of this information is updated every year. He says it's not hard. He tracked down a guy who's in Estonia, he's moved to Estonia, and the guy says, well, I live in Estonia now, so whatever field of expertise I'm in, he says, I'm in Estonia. So he said, yeah, well, you're in Estonia, so look it up, update your information, and email it to me. And so he says, it's not hard to do the job. So all this information is in here pretty well. The list of contributors is very impressive. It's 2 pages long. You might want to just go through it. What I find is fascinating is you can go into the table of contents, which runs a couple of pages, and pick out a subject and learn it. And you'll know more about it than anybody in the Kitchener Waterloo area. You'll be amazed on it. Just reading 2 or 3 pages of it. If you want to know one example, in November 11th, the transit of Mercury is happening. What a segue into my next topic. There are 3 pages in the current book that talk about the transit of Mercury, more information than you ever want to know. And just use that as an example to get in here and look at it. You really should take a look at it and learn something from it, because it's probably the one thing that's most valuable in the club and least utilized in RASC. My next thing is to talk about November 11th. November 11th, the planet Mercury will pass in front of the sun between 7:36 and 13:04 in the afternoon, so it's a really good time to see it. Mercury is going to be very small against the sun. So the event, we're organizing a series of events to do one thing. To give people an experience, they say, yeah, they saw Mercury flying in front of the sun. And it's really simple. It only takes about a minute for somebody to focus in on it, look and go, there's a black dot in the sun, it's really tiny. Yep, that's it. Bye, you're done. Okay? You can run a lot of people through that, so it's not worth it to do like we did at the Transit of Venus, where we had like 1,200 people at one event at the University of Waterloo. It's on a Monday, it's on November 11th, and chances are it'll be cloudy anyway. But we've got a 5-hour lifespan to this, so we might as well utilize as much as we can. We have the telescopes, we have the filters. If we need more, the members can provide them. What we have now, what we need are people to step up and do things. And a lot of these will just be showing up. Now, there are 3 things we want to do. One is, if you're working that day, take your telescope to work, grab your coworkers, take a half an hour, go outside, inflict the transit of Mercury on them, and then they can go back to work. Okay? It's just that 1-minute experience you're giving them. The other thing is public events. We're setting up our 2 solar telescopes, one at the Waterloo Town Square and one at the Kitchener City Hall. I'm going to be at the Kitchener City Hall. We want 2 people for each of those events. The reason why is we can be sitting there the whole full 5 hours, and we can have everybody who works downtown take some time and show up. Okay? And the other thing I'm working on is for other people to show up at high schools. Now, if this was a normal observing event like Comet or something like this, I would recommend I've already talked to some of the high schools, and I thought that they could possibly do it. But we're talking about solar observing and giving that to people who own a telescope, who've never done it before, especially for high school. You don't want any burned out eyes. So what I want to do is, if you can come to an event, I can get you a high school. If you don't have one, I can get you a telescope. You can show up and basically run the telescope for a couple of hours while the science department gets a hold of people and sends them out to the telescope. So they do all the schoolwork. We set up a telescope. They can come up, have their 1 minute experience, and that's it. What I need to know this weekend are the people who are willing to do this, the equipment we have or we can get, and this is what we've already got. We've got Trevor doing an event at the Arboretum. We've got Phil doing the University of Guelph. I've got people, Victor up at U of W is going to start getting harassed most severely by his outreach coordinator at the University of Waterloo, and me to get his ass going because he runs the observatory there. And I'm going to be doing Kitchener City Hall. I need people to run Waterloo Town Square. And after that, I need as many people as possible to show up for high school events. If you want to do it, let me know. And that way we can start coming up with a plan, formulate a plan. The reason why we have to know now is so I can start sending it out on media. I can do interviews, we can all talk about it, get the buzz going. And so when we set up at we can have people cycling through all morning at Kitchener City Hall, okay? And then there's no reason why we can't have a couple thousand people go through. It's just how much effort we want to do with this, okay? So I need people to volunteer for this and step up to it in whatever venue you think you can do. Any questions with that? Okay. We have the small solar telescope. We just bought a tripod for it. We're missing parts for the other tripod for the big solar telescope. But we're going to find them, or I'm going to find another tripod for it. Let's see, filters, missing parts, all that stuff. What I need right now is I need an 8-inch black disc for an 8-inch Dobsonian 18-inch Dobsonian telescope. I would like to have it permanently because our telescopes are back from the Waterloo Public Library, and one of them is missing one, and we can't do solar observing unless we have that capped. Anybody have any questions? Any volunteers? No, nobody's going to step up? No volunteers?
Might be able to do Waterloo.
Waterloo Town Square?
Yeah.
Okay. And nothing says you have to do the full time. We just need to know what time block would be best suited for you. Okay?
It's a Monday.
Yeah, it's a Monday. Yeah, it's a working day. Yeah.
When you want to do this, you put the filter on your telescope and then remove the spotting telescope. If somebody looks at that,
Yeah, a lot of us have done solar observing.
Yeah.
What I want to do is rehearsals to make sure everybody, because we will have the sun to rehearse on. Okay? Any questions?
Wait, I'll be running.
So we can see Mercury and then it's
Did we run out of things to say? No, nobody's showing. If anybody had put up their hand and said, I want to do something, I would have said, first vice president.